It's The List and your boy with Jimmy Van and Sean Ross Sapp.
Okay, you guys are supposed to be on. Go for it.
What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp here. Man, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start.
First off, Wirecast programmers, software engineers can go fuck yourselves.
We are live, though. It connected.
Oh, did it connect?
Yes, it did connect. I do
Okay,
have it
well,
up.
you guys have created shoddy software full of holes. That's number one. Number two, my building is currently undergoing a renovation, and there's drilling happening, even though I was promised there would not be during the day. So I forget the name of my building, otherwise I'd say it on the air, the name of the owner. They can also go fuck themselves. So what we're going to do is we're going to attempt to do this, and if it's either really loud because of the drilling or Wirecast craps out, we might have to call an end to this podcast today. But
And they need bigger revolving doors downstairs.
But do they need that too?
They're dangerous.
Why, for your big Kentucky head? Is that why? Like, what's
No,
the,
I saw somebody get caught in it as I walked in last month. It was kind of funny.
Oh, they must be special.
Two people tried to go in at once, and me and my wife were like, nah, not doing that one, and we found out why. They got like caught up in there. But yeah, I wish there was something going on this week that we could talk about.
I know.
Though.
I wish we had some news. I wish we did.
There's nothing.
You know what? We've talked about this before. What a time to have a combat sports crossover website.
Yeah, man.
What a time.
Yeah, man.
You know? Okay, can you hear that drilling?
It's not nearly as loud as it was earlier.
Okay.
I'll give that credit. Yeah, guys, let us know if the drilling is too much. If it is, we will delay the show, reschedule the show, cancel the show, whatever it is. If you all can deal with it, it'll be okay.
In the live chat, let us know if it's a pain in the ass or if you can deal with it. Yeah. To me, it's a pain in the ass.
People just seem happy that we're live. And the funny thing is, Jimmy, in the middle of all this, all I really wanted to do last night was to call it an early night and listen to some NBA podcasts because of the big trade. That didn't happen.
I heard about that. Kyle Irving, yeah.
Kyrie Irving, not Kyle Irving.
Oh, whatever. I'm not a basketball fan. So, good for both of them. So, you know what I would have loved to have been last night, Sean?
What's that?
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall at Brock Lesnar's house when he got the phone call telling him about Mr. Jon Jones. Now, we should talk about this. Yes, this is a pro wrestling podcast, but as we've said before, whenever news comes up that's not necessarily wrestling related, but that wrestling fans might find of interest, we have to talk about it. I think everybody's going to find this to be of interest, even though it's not pro wrestling.
I think this is very pro wrestling related, all things considered.
Yeah, in a way it is. So why don't you go ahead and tell everybody the latest that you've heard.
Jon Jones failed a drug test in relation to UFC 214. Apparently, it was a test administered after the weigh-ins. There's a lot of misinformation going out there. So I'm waiting for all of it to kind of settle. We had Kendrick Johnson, who was able to talk to Dana White yesterday in Las Vegas, sent us some videos. They're up on Fightful.com as well. Thanks to him for that. But, Daniel Cormier reached for a comment, and man, I wonder how that guy feels. As emotional as he was in the ring, this could set a crazy precedent because Jon Jones technically failed a drug test before he ever beat Daniel Cormier for a title. If this is overturned, Daniel Cormier gets that title back, Jimmy.
Yeah.
And that's just the situation. We saw something somewhat similar in Invicta just a few months ago. Tanya Evinger, who just lost to Chris Cyborg, a ref kind of screwed her out, told her a move was a foul, and it absolutely wasn't. And she ended up losing that fight. The fight got overturned to a no contest. Her title was returned to her. Now, categorically different situations, but very similar in that regard, because that fight will become a no contest eventually. Here are some of the issues that I see. Ian Kidd is a very good guy to follow about this. It's an oral steroid. It being an oral steroid is an easy way to play the tainted supplement thing, because that is not out of the question. Also, it makes you wonder, why didn't he fail any drug tests before the weigh-in? That's a little weird.
If he was on a supplement the whole time, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's something that you got to question. I put out that tweet that's got something like 1,000 retweets of Vince McMahon and how he probably looks going into negotiations with Brock Lesnar now because Jon Jones could be looking at anywhere between a 2 to 4 year suspension. unless it's proven contaminated. Then he's probably looking at 6 to 10 months or something like that. And I'm not saying that it's impossible that this was a contaminated supplement, because the thing is, it strikes me as very, very unusual that Jon Jones would do that after what he went through prior.
You think so? Yeah, you would.
Yeah.
No, I think the first thing we should say is we're doing this on August 23rd. This is the day after this story broke. And so the investigation is ongoing, and USADA and the California State Athletic Commission have to go through their process. So I think we owe, at least Jon Jones the respect of saying that, because a lot of people are already condemning him and saying you're an idiot, and that could prove to be true. But right now we don't know the whole situation. All we can do is go by what we've heard. And what Frank Lester said on Facebook. So Frank Lester is Jon Jones' teammate at Jackson Wink Academy in New Mexico.
Heads up their amateur fighters, many of them.
And he thinks that Jon Jones was set up somehow. My business partner, Luke, in this company, he was telling me about the Ben Johnson. Do you remember the Ben Johnson situation?
I do, somewhat.
So he allegedly was given a beer somewhere prior to the race of the Olympics, and the beer was tainted, allegedly. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's always possible that he was supposedly set up. At the same time, you'd think that Jon, given what he went through, given that he was going to be under the microscope for this fight, and given that to a lot of people his career was already tainted based on everything he'd done, you'd think that he would have been really smart about everything that went into his body. Everything that went
Well, I
into his
guarantee
body.
you they kept samples of everything. I guarantee you they did.
Yeah, I hope so. So we're going to see. I mean, it's going to really be unfortunate if it comes back that he did this again, that he took some kind of a supplement without doing his proper due diligence, because this guy would have been the greatest of all time. I mean,
Yeah, as of this moment, I consider Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson hands down the best of all time, without a doubt. That's in my opinion. Now, there are a few aspects to this, because, this was going to have a major factor in Brock Lesnar's negotiations.
absolutely. Yeah.
Now you have to wonder if Jon Jones has 4 years off. There's no way he's not doing something combat sports related or wrestling related or something like that. But here's my thing. Jon Jones screws up a lot, from DUIs to the car accidents to the cocaine to all that. I'm not saying he's on the straight and narrow. I will not say that at all. But I will say that it strikes me as a little unusual that this happened, because I know that Jon had a team in place to take care of this type of stuff. And whether that team wants to mask a bunch of stuff or whether that team is there to make sure he doesn't take anything, he's got the best coaching staff in MMA in Jackson Wink. I know he's got a good team around him. The setup thing, I don't know, but I do know that many at USADA do not like Jon Jones. There's always been that story about how they were very upset about how he allegedly hid underneath a ring.
Yeah, Chael Sonnen said that, right?
Yeah. No. And Chael Sonnen says, I can't tell you that Jon Jones hid under a ring, but I can tell you that USADA thinks that he did.
Right.
To the point to where they were considering getting a forensic scientist or something of that nature to pursue it. Man, it's very, very, it's all like foggy.
I mean, it's definitely suspect that they think that he took this supplement or whatever it was sometime between the weigh-in and fight night. To me, that's pretty suspect. But at the same time, like I said, if I'm Jon Jones, if I was Jon Jones, and again, I know I'm under the microscope, and I know that a lot of people are looking at me the wrong way. Like I said, I would be watching everything that went into my body, everything, not just supplements, food, liquids. I'd be watching everything that went in. So I don't know.
I would imagine that they are keeping, like I said, samples of everything, and they should. They should have.
I hope they did. Do you know that's a fact? Like even food and everything? Are they keeping samples of all that?
Well, that's a tough one. But according to Ian Kidd, this steroid is not even produced for human or veterinary consumption anymore.
I saw that. I read his report.
So only like shady labs produce it, according to him. And he is a pretty solid source on the matter.
And didn't USADA have a list of supplements they say not to take? And something like 7 or 8 of them have turinabol in them.
Yeah.
Right? So, I don't know. I guess we'll find out, man. I mean, it's really unfortunate for him. And the UFC, man. You talk about being on your knees pleading to Conor McGregor to not give up after the fight this weekend because they have nothing else.
Well, Conor McGregor has been pretty steadfast in saying, I'm going to keep doing MMA. And Dana White, when people talked to him this weekend, I think it was Kendrick even mentioned that to him. He said, how about that ownership stake that he talked about? And he said, it's never been done before, but I can't say no in a situation like this. And when Dana White said, yeah, I'm sure we're going to have the money talk again, and I welcome that in this case. But,
did you see Dana White's T-shirt at the media scrum?
No, I didn't.
Team McGregor.
Yeah.
That guy's all in. Dana White is all in on Conor McGregor.
Well, he better hope that Conor McGregor will take what he gives him, because if a Conor McGregor spearheads an MMA Fighters Association, we're talking about a much different situation.
I don't think he will. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think he will either, especially the way he talked. Yeah. I will say that Daniel Cormier's statement was very Fighters Association-esque, where he said stuff like, we get our processes that we go through as fighters and athletes, and I'm going to respect that, and I'm going to try to stay away from comment until that happens. Because if they had a Fighters Association, you better believe that Fighters Association is clawing tooth and nail for Jon Jones in this situation.
Oh, I'm sure.
But they don't have that.
Jon Jones, if anybody knows or if anybody has any idea about this, it'd be Jon Jones, obviously.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And if it turns out that it was a tainted supplement, there's no way I can see him explaining that away. How do you explain that away? You did that already once. Right?
Hey, it happens, man. It does happen. It's happened a lot, the tainted supplements
but you
with
gotta be
USADA.
Smarter than that. After what's already happened to him?
Well, I know, but that's not really his fault. I mean, for all we know, he could have taken a picture of it, sent it to USADA, they give him the thumbs up, but it's still tainted.
I mean, that's possible.
Because, I mean, that's the thing. The tainted supplements aren't illegal supplements.
Yeah.
They are legal supplements that have been tainted with an illegal substance that was maybe cross-contaminated or in the same lab.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting that of all people, it happened to him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Let's get into the fight this weekend. So McGregor, Mayweather, who you got?
Mayweather.
And how?
Decision. And now, as a guy who runs a crossover website, in my heart, I want Conor McGregor to win, because you know what I want, Jimmy? I want those clickety clacks. That's what I want.
You know what? I'm curious, Nigel.
Yeah.
So you are not an MMA fan, really, or boxing or combat sports in general, but you're well aware of this fight, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've seen posters for it everywhere.
So who do you think is going to win?
I know Mayweather more than I know McGregor, so I'm going to go with Mayweather.
Yeah. You know what? I have to give props to Conor McGregor, and you know why? Because he has somehow managed to convince a lot of people that he has a chance. He somehow managed, a guy with a 0-0 boxing record has managed to convince people he has a chance. I know a lot of Irish people in Toronto, Sean. Matter of fact, Nicola, you met, is in our office as an example.
Yeah.
I know several people from Ireland in Toronto, and most of them, except for maybe one that I can think of, are convinced McGregor's going to win this fight, right? They're convinced.
What's Nicola thinking?
I haven't asked her opinion on the outcome, but she's a massive McGregor person, so she's probably picking McGregor. But I personally, aside from the old puncher's chance thing everybody talks about, I don't see how he has any chance. Like, any chance. And it's shocking to me that so many people are picking McGregor. The only thing I will say, because I did a little research into like Floyd and when he last fought and all that. He turned 40 in February. He last fought almost 2 years ago, September of 15, against Andre Berto. Time catches up to everybody. And you know what kind of fighter he is, right? He's all about the reflexes and the defense. So if his speed and reflexes aren't what they used to be, you never know. But he's not fighting. Do you remember, wrestling fans won't know this, but do you remember when Floyd Mayweather fought Sugar Shane Mosley?
Yes.
And he caught him with a stiff shot in the second round?
Yes.
Right? If that fight happened now, he probably would have dropped Floyd with that punch. But at the time, Floyd was still young enough. I don't see McGregor having the technique to get in there and land a shot like that. He just doesn't have the experience or the technique.
Yeah, so, I don't know what kind of technique he has. To me, like this situation, the only situation really I see McGregor able to win here. And I did a full breakdown. It's on Holy Smokes MMA podcast, and I produced the individual breakdown if you all want to watch that as well. Is up against the ropes. That's where Mayweather has had the most trouble in his career. And to say that he's had the most trouble there, he hasn't really had that much trouble there.
Right.
But he's extending his reach, maybe. That's the best opportunity McGregor has, but we don't know if he'll fight like that or if he'll go super inside like Maidana did up against the ropes. When Floyd Mayweather rolls out and circles off the ropes, he always goes to his right, almost always. That would be right into the left of a Conor McGregor. Mm-hmm. That's the best chance I think he has, and I'm just saying that's the best chance I think he has. Not I think it's going to happen.
Right. Well, I'm picking Mayweather either by decision or by referee stoppage. He's not going to knock Conor out, but it might be by referee stoppage if maybe, if Floyd gets the timing down, if Conor's technique's not there, if it gets to the point where Floyd is teeing off at will, I can see the referee stopping it. Those are the only two outcomes that I envision. I want to ask you a question, and this is, again, something that my business partner mentioned to me the other day. Showboating is allowed in a fight, correct?
Yes, it is.
Is it not therefore legal for Conor to feint a head kick or a takedown and not actually do anything?
Now, as far as the Queensberry rules and things like that go, I'm not completely familiar with those because there are some things that are off limits in that regard. So
if it was me,
I don't think he would even risk it because of the percentage of his purse that he would lose.
Really, you think so? Because if he doesn't actually do anything, if he only feints it just to kind of get Floyd thinking a little bit, I would do that. If I was Conor McGregor, I would do that. I would feint a head kick. I would.
Yes.
And I'll be completely honest with you, just because it'll make Conor McGregor bigger in the end. If I'm Conor McGregor and you're going into the 12th round and you're way behind on points, kick him in the head.
He's going to lose too much money to do that. He ain't doing that. They would sue his ass.
But think about how enormous he'd be coming out of that fight if he did that.
I don't think so.
You know what I thought of when we were talking about this whole fainting head kiss thing? I thought of Mr. T and Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
When Roddy Piper slammed him, whenever that was, the third round or whatever that was. So, never know, Sean.
Well, this fight's going to be huge. We're going to have a post-show podcast, myself, Joe, Carlos. I think Carlos is doing both a Fightful boxing podcast as well as a Spanish language speaking week update.
That's cool.
I figured, because I'm like, is anybody doing that? I don't know. There are no Spanish language speaking fighters in this fight, but I'm sure they still care about it. Might as well bring all those eyes to Fightful.com.
Sure, that's actually an interesting thing to do, for sure.
Full live coverage of the fight. It's going to be big. It is going to be big, one way or another.
Absolutely. Let's turn our focus back onto wrestling. So firstly,
sure, I
want to congratulate Tyler, and I apologize if I say your name wrong, Prestapine, Newcastle, Pennsylvania. You won this bad boy right here. In the Summerslam contest that we did in the forums of Fightful.com. I'm going to get that out in the mail to you tomorrow. And I want to do another contest. I have about 4 more of these Ric Flair Defining Moments action figures, so I want to do another contest, and I will figure out with Sean what that contest is going to be. SummerSlam, man, on Sunday night. What did you think? What were your thoughts?
Overall, a solid show sandwiched between 2 great matches in the SmackDown tag match and the main event. I thought the main event was incredible. I looked at my match ratings, and I was talking to who our MMA fans will know as Nikita Krylov fan, but I realized I gave it the same match rating as Okada Omega because I enjoyed it so much.
Oh, really?
I did. I gave it a 9.25 because to me, it's not about technique and execution. It's about how much I enjoyed watching the match. That's what my rating is.
Yes.
It's not like how well can Braun Strowman apply a headlock and then go into a drop toe hold. To me, it's how much did I have fun watching this match? And I had so much fun watching that match.
I agree. Braun was phenomenal in that match. I think everybody was loving Braun. He came out the biggest babyface maybe in the entire company after that match. Now, I don't want to go too far ahead of myself, but Brock versus Braun at No Mercy, September 24th. Do you think it's too soon?
I would have made that. I would have called an audible. And I would have made Cena versus Reigns for WrestleMania and Strowman versus Lesnar for WrestleMania. What this makes me fear, Jimmy, is that Braun ends up working John Cena and losing at WrestleMania.
That'd be interesting.
You You know how they love to do that.
And Roman and
we
Brock
got somebody
then?
really over, huh?
And Roman and Brock then?
Yeah, Roman and Brock probably, unfortunately. But I mean, not to say that would be a bad match or anything, but
so
I don't like the idea of a Brock Lesnar in the main event of WrestleMania with his contract expiring 36 hours later.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Not a big fan of that.
So Baron Corbin. So last week on this podcast, and you know I'm not a fan of Baron Corbin. I still don't see money in him, and I don't know if that opinion will ever change. But when he failed on the cash-in, I wanted to wait until after SummerSlam with the expectation that he was going to beat Cena, and that was his big receipt. And he goes in there, and he gets beat clean. So, I don't know, man. Now they're putting him in the U.S. title picture. I don't know what they're thinking about Baron Corbin. It seems like they're flipping on the weekly with him now all of a sudden.
To be honest, a U.S. title promotion or title picture might be a promotion.
It might be.
Considering who holds the world title.
It might be, yeah. And speaking of gender, I tweeted about this after this took place. I'm tired of the Singh brothers shtick. I'm tired of it. I give them all the credit in the world for taking the bumps they take, but I'm tired of it. And in my opinion, it's insulting to the intelligence of the fans. How is it that two guys are allowed to run into the ring, whether they attack the opponent or not? They're still allowed to run into the ring, distract him so Ginger can just come up and do the Cobra Clutch Slam. How was that?
It was not a Cobra Clutch Slam on Sunday.
Yeah,
I argued with people about that. Oh my God.
I saw
had people saying that Nakamura sandbagged him, and I was like, all right, guys. So that's not how you apply a Cobra Clutch. There was no rear naked choke to that at all. You basically put a quarter Nelson on or half Nelson on the head that drags the arm closer. You grab it, you do the move. Jinder messed up his own finish that he's been doing for months.
Yeah, he did. But the fact of the matter is, it's the same tired finish that they've done with him.
Sure is.
Show after show, month after month. It's why I don't understand it, man. And when the time comes that Jinder loses that title, I still think that he is perceived by the fans as being enhancement talent because he's being booked to look like enhancement talent. When he loses the title, he's not going to remain in the main event spot. Like, people aren't going to buy it.
I'll say this. I have enjoyed the consistency of his booking in that he's just an enhancement guy that got a couple of cronies. That's it.
Yeah.
But I don't like that it's the same finish every single time.
Man,
like, they can do that and be creative about it, but they're not.
You know, I want to talk later about Dolph Ziggler, but Dolph Ziggler on SmackDown was joking around. He's being cynical about what he needs to do to be successful. All he needs are cronies.
It's true.
And then just have him run in, distract the opponent, hit him with your finisher, and go home. I mean, that's what they're basically telling you, right?
A couple years ago, after John Cena disposed of the Wyatt family, I was like, God, he beat up all these guys. What? He can't feud with just one guy after that. I thought that back then they should have had like a heel doghouse stable of The Miz, Zack Ryder, and Dolph Ziggler. Guys who worked with John Cena in high situations, and then their careers went right down the crapper, and they all blamed him.
Right.
And that's the approach that should have been taken. I think that Dolph Ziggler could still make that work, probably with a Baron Corbin and Rusev, but I don't know where the hell Rusev's going to be. He wasn't on the show Tuesday. Randy Orton wasn't on the show Tuesday.
So
it was weird.
I
will say I love the idea. Somebody either tweeted me or posted on our video or on our podcast where they said the Singh brothers should just attach themselves to whatever the world champion is and just show up and clap for them.
Like, Sunny did that with the tag team champions.
She did.
Yeah,
she joined the Godwins.
That's right, and the Smoking Guns.
Smoking Guns. Yeah.
So I was going to talk about this later, but I want to put my booking hat on for a second when it comes to Rusev.
Yes.
Because when I saw Dolph Ziggler's promo on SmackDown, for some reason the first person I thought of was Rusev. And, you talk about he wasn't even on SmackDown last night. He was destroyed by Orton in like 8 seconds at SummerSlam. You think about when Vince McMahon said, he questioned if Cesaro was supposedly struggling because he was Swiss. That's what Vince McMahon actually said. Maybe he thinks Rusev is struggling because he's Bulgarian, because that's Vince McMahon. But I saw that Dolph Ziggler promo and I thought to myself, it is time to turn Rusev babyface. And all they got to do, even though I realize Ziggler and Rusev have worked in the past, all they got to do is have Dolph look at Lana as the example of what WWE wants, right? Look at her as the example of what the fans supposedly want. Have Dolph focus on her as his little target and start to bully her around. Finally culminates in an in-ring segment. She's cowering on the mat. Dolph is frustrated over her. They hit Rusev's music. Everybody knows they're married.
Yeah.
Right? They're not fooling anybody. Tell me if that happened and Rusev motors on out there and makes the save for Lana, that the crowd would not eat that up.
I would love it. I always said that the reintroduction of Rusev as a serious character has to involve Lana.
Absolutely.
Like, somehow has to involve Lana. Even if she's not out with him to the ring,
yeah,
it has to involve her somehow. Like, maybe she gets fed up of him losing. She doesn't want to be with a loser anymore. Maybe it's because somebody does, like what you said, threatens or compromises her safety, and he ain't having that.
Yep.
He's too good. He's too good.
Yes.
And if he asks for his release, then in 90 days he's probably Global Force champion or working for New Japan, one or the other.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's not going to do that, I don't think, so long as Lana's there. But, yeah, they definitely could be doing... I mean, I even think, just because, again, WWE is disrespectful of the intelligence of the fans. The fans know that Lana's not Russian.
Yes.
They know this, right? Why not actually show them some respect and acknowledge on television that she's not actually Russian?
Dolph should do that. Dolph should say,
right, he could.
I know that you did that to get ahead. Like,
right.
I know that you're playing their game type of thing. Dolph should do that.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it could play into the whole thing. Rusev babyface, I think it would be great.
Right now, they're getting those Total Divas checks, though, both of them.
That's good.
How much? Extra 6 figures.
Do they get that much?
Imagine they get an extra 6 figures a year. I would assume.
Oh, that's nice. We're running behind today because of our little issue. I want to go into one more thing, and then we'll go to the first clip. So when I was watching SummerSlam, and I don't want to go off on a massive tangent, but I want to talk about it. And I saw the booking of Jinder Mahal with the Singh brothers. One thing that bothered me, and maybe it didn't bother you, but it bothered me, they had the up, up, down, down segment. Did you see that?
Yes.
And it was for like Rocket Legend or something, Rocket League, whatever. And they had Neville on one of the teams.
Yes.
Watching all of that made me think to myself, one of the issues that WWE is having today, in my opinion, is that they're making it difficult for the fans to suspend their disbelief. And the reason that I really like a guy like Brock Lesnar is because he makes it easy. Braun Strowman is another one. He makes it easy for you to believe what they're doing. And let me ask you this, Sean. You know that for 40 years, Vince McMahon has dipped his toe into other businesses outside of wrestling, right? He tried promoting the Sugar Ray Leonard fight. He tried the World Bodybuilding Federation, the XFL, all this other shit. Do you think that one of the reasons he did that, not so much because he was looking to diversify his revenue streams, was because he was looking for acceptance from the mainstream? Because the mainstream has always looked at wrestling as being lowbrow entertainment. And he was looking for more of that acceptance. He hated the perception that the mainstream had of pro wrestling. Do you think that might be the reason why he tried out those other types of businesses? And do you think that might be the reason why they will have a guy out of character in a segment on their wrestling show when he's like in character 10 minutes later in a match? Is because he wants to show the mainstream, look, this guy's not really like this. This guy's, he's intelligent and he's jokey and he plays video games. Like, why do you think that they do that? Because you would never see a movie, let's say Batman, and in the middle of a serious scene, they're going to have the actors off drinking a beer shooting the shit.
Yeah.
Nigel's laughing, but quite frankly, this is a problem they've always had in wrestling where, yes, it's entertainment, and we all know it's entertainment, but you don't break character in the middle of your show.
During the middle of the show, yeah, I completely agree.
Right?
Jimmy, it's all as simple as money. Xavier Woods is doing those things, say there are hefty fines for those who step out of line while we're filming this.
No, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that.
I know, but I mean, they don't do it. They don't do it.
But what I'm saying is...
They never give these guys a reason to not be beating the shit out of each other or I get what you're saying. I look at it like this. So you remember when Vince McMahon was in Beyond the Mat, and he told the director, whatever his name was, Barry Blaustein or whatever, he told him, we make movies. And that was how Vince McMahon wanted the perception to be. We have characters, we have stories, we have good guys, we have bad guys, we make movies. And that's what he wants you to think, right? As you and I both know, pro wrestling is not like traditional television, and it's not like traditional movies, in that these guys play their characters in public all the time. They do. When Roman Reigns is at the airport, Roman Reigns is not Joe Anoa'i, right?
He's not being approached by people saying, "Hey, Joe, loved what you did, as Roman Reigns the other night." He's approached as Roman Reigns. That's the difference between TV and movies, right? And Vince McMahon either doesn't understand that or he doesn't want to understand that. When I was watching SummerSlam, and I can't remember if Neville's match happened before the Up, Up, Down segment or after, but it was right around the same time. And there you have this guy going to the ring, and he's angry, and his hair's down his face, and he's supposed to be like the king of the cruiserweights. And then there he is, looking like a nerd with glasses and a toque and a animated cartoon T-shirt, playing video games on the same show. And I watched that thinking, this is part of your problem. Like, how are people going to get into Neville as a character when you show him playing video games, looking kind of intellectual, nerdy type kind of thing on the same?
Well, I mean,
how does that make any sense at all?
That I don't as much mind. If he's standing next to somebody that he hates on TV, that's a bigger problem.
They do that too. They do that too.
Because I mean, I believe that these people, they do have lives outside of wrestling. Although I do wish that it was revealed that Vince McMahon followed draws and was just like, he's gotta puke.
Yeah.
He's gotta puke.
Yeah, but again, they have lives outside of wrestling, just like actors have lives outside of television and movies. But during the TV show, they don't show that actor living his life. During the movie, they don't cut a scene so that those two actors can go hang out at a bar.
Yeah, show it off TV.
That to me is a big reason. It's the same thing as when they'll cut to a commercial during Raw, and then they show an episode of Ride Along, and they have two guys that might be feuding on television, and they're driving together in a car down the street. This is part of the problem.
It'd be like if in the middle of an Evolve event, they showed Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher being bros, because we know that they're not. But fortunately, I was able to speak to the resident bro, Matt Riddle, to play a little bro or no.
Digging holes, digging holes, and digging holes. The guy's got it. He still got it.
Okay, Matt, now we're going to play bro or no.
Bro or no?
Where I'm going to name off several wrestlers, and you tell me if they're a bro or no.
Got it. I can do this.
And maybe why.
And maybe why.
The Young Bucks.
Oh, they're bro.
Jeffrey Cobb.
Bro.
Triple H.
I don't know. I don't know.
You technically just said no. You said no, so he's not a bro. James Ellsworth, the big hog.
Definitely not. No.
What's up with your comments about James Ellsworth recently? Are you intimidated by the hog?
Is that what's going on in the streets?
That's what Daniel Bryan says. Apparently, James Ellsworth has a giant hog.
That's awesome.
That's the rumor. I mean, is that why you said that he shouldn't be signed?
That's definitely not the reason. I never said he shouldn't be signed. Did I?
You said something like it. You say a lot of shit, Matt.
I do say a lot of shit. I don't think it was that he shouldn't be signed. I think I said there's a job for anybody in pro wrestling. There's John Cena at the top of the spectrum, and then there's James Ellsworth at the bottom of the spectrum, and they're both hired by WWE. And it's nothing against either. They're both entertaining, and that's what you do in the WWE.
Okay, we'll let that one slide.
But no, he's not a bro.
Joey Janela.
He's a bro.
Even after all that shit he talked about you on the internet?
That's what makes him so bro. He keeps it real.
I can appreciate that. Excalibur.
Who's Excalibur?
Then that's a no. Super Dragon.
He's a bro.
Zack Sabre Jr.
He's a bro.
Alberto Del Rio.
I've never met Alberto Del Rio, so I can't really, I can't really tell you if he's a real bro or not. Everybody else you've mentioned, I've met. So
could you beat up Alberto Del Rio?
I think I would do very well against Alberto. I have a very high level ground game, and my MMA is pretty high level too. So
he was going to go to the Olympics as a wrestler, Matt, but he didn't. How about Tony Nese?
He's a bro.
Drew Gulak.
He's a bro.
Gerald Briscoe.
He's a bro.
Is he Gerald Brisk bro?
He's Gerald Brisk bro.
I saw him try to shoot on you once.
He did.
How'd that go?
I believe I swept him right over, and then that was it. I was just giggling. It was a good time.
Were you impressed with his gumption?
I'm impressed with the strength he wields at his age.
I always hear that. Like, you would hear that, like, backstage in WWE, like, he would be out at the bar and he would try to wrestle people.
Dude, he's ridiculously strong. He's like this. He's one of the stronger guys I've encountered in the professional wrestling game, and he's probably one of the oldest as well.
I know that was at the Monster Factory. What kind of feedback did he give you, if any, back then? Because those were your early days.
They were the early days. He said nothing but positive things, to be honest. He said great things. So keep up the hard work. You got potential.
How often do you speak to a William Regal?
I actually haven't seen him since WrestleMania weekend. It's been a while.
What was that like? Did he
came in,
give you any input?
He talked at the seminar. I wouldn't say he gave me input. He spoke highly of me, and I spoke highly of. We're working together. William Regal's a good guy, and I think he's big into the realism and seriousness of professional wrestling. So my style, body language, and all that, he really appreciates that, and he puts it over, especially when he talks at like seminars and stuff with Evolve.
All right, you guys are back.
Bro or no? Do you consider Matt a bro? You don't interact with him a whole lot.
No, not too much. He's always been cool to me, though.
Sometimes he'll interact with me. Like, I'll get like messages or snaps or something from him like 3 or 4 straight days maybe, and then then he'll not reply to anything at all.
That's him.
So
I told you that he was always hard to reach until I said, hey, can I send you a Sean Ross Sapp t-shirt? And you got back to me within 2 seconds.
I'm not shocked. Everybody should go over to ProWrestlingTees.com/Fightful and get their own.
Beautiful. We got that new one. You have opinionated wrongfully.
No, we need to get that up on the screen somehow. So.
Yeah, we'll work on it. We'll work on getting something. So prior to the Riddle clip, I was talking about the suspension of disbelief. And speaking of that, what the hell was with John Cena on Raw this week?
I tweeted that if somebody asked me how I thought John Cena would act if he smoked a bag of meth, that's how.
Right. I love Nigel's laughter on this while you're doing that.
Hey.
So, like, here's the thing, man. Like, I hate the notion of John Cena buries everybody. John Cena buries everybody. He's put over a ton of people. A ton of people. There is the Nexus story, but, I mean, if you have one of those stories in 15 years, I think it's a pretty good ratio, yeah?
Yeah, but he was told what to do with Nexus, though, wasn't he? He was told...
He wanted to make this big comeback after getting DDT'd on the floor, and that was really up to them.
Yeah.
But he said he was wrong this weekend when asked about it. The Baron Corbin thing, I was flat out told John Cena was sending Baron Corbin a message, and given what I had kind of heard, I don't know if you heard on the other podcast, some of the guys found out that Baron Corbin had them blocked and muted and all this stuff on social media, and a lot of the agents, well, I don't want to say a lot of the agents, some people that work for WWE didn't. They were like, that's a little weird, especially the old school guys where everything's a fraternity. Kind of looked at that as like, oh, that's weird. Why didn't you just mute them, or why don't you just ignore them? Hey, you tell me to do that all the time.
Yeah, I do. So first off, with all due respect to Baron Corbin, if Baron Corbin was 5'10", he'd be working at concessions.
There you go.
And that is a fact. He's got. I don't see money in the guy. Yeah, the guy used to be a pro football player, and he's 6'5" or whatever he is.
Tall.
I don't see money in the guy. At least with Rusev, the real life Rusev has got personality, and he's charming, and he's funny. Baron Corbin's just an asshole. It doesn't matter if he's on TV or not. And that's my opinion. As far as John Cena goes, we always put him over for the schedule that he keeps, because he keeps a hell of a schedule. And he has been unselfish with putting guys over. But one of the knocks about him going back a lot of years has been that he is sometimes, doesn't take things seriously, and he smiles through promos sometimes when he shouldn't, and he treats things like a joke. I watched him in that segment with The Miz, and you know what? Full marks to The Miz for doing his best to get that whole thing over. And Miz even acknowledged that the crowd was with him when he was cutting that promo. And there was Cena with a smile on his face, even when Miz tried to stop him when he was going to leave the ring. And Miz tried to stop him. Cena still looked at him with a smile on his face. He was, admonishing the security guys for taking away the beach balls.
The whole thing was improvised, by the way. Cena pretending to leave.
No,
Miz
I'm sure it was.
Grabbing him, yeah.
I'm sure it was. But I'm just saying, I watched that going, how are you benefiting anybody? How is that of any benefit to Samoa Joe? How is it any benefit to The Miz, to Roman Reigns, acting the way you're acting?
Or to himself.
Or to himself. Or to himself. Yeah.
I think that he undermines a lot of stuff like that. We either get jokey John Cena or way too serious John Cena. The worst, in my opinion, is when we get both.
Right.
Because what he told us Sunday night as soon as he rolled out and put that hat on was, don't care about this match because I don't. That's what he said. And when he's out there doing stuff like that, it's Roman Reigns and John Cena. Two people who the WWE view as the guy who's going to be on par with that eventually, at least in WWE's eyes. This is like their junior roast beef version of The Rock and Hulk Hogan in Vince McMahon's eyes.
Junior roast beef version.
Yeah, because it ain't the big beef battle. We all know that. But John Cena, the way that he acted, I thought was just inexcusable. I thought that the way that he sabotaged the main event with the beach ball horse shit, inexcusable. And it's coming from a guy who, has said before, oh, I'll be the leader of the locker room. When I hear that and I see, I wonder what kind of message that sends to a Roman Reigns who, by all accounts, is willing to step up and be that locker room leader, kicked Enzo off a bus.
Yep.
When Reigns has to work with this, I kind of hope somebody asserts some sort of dominance. The Miz did it in his promo.
Yes,
he's like, I'm not going to heal you guys. They're cheering me, and they should be cheering me.
Yeah.
The Miz did it. The Miz has earned every bit of what he's done. He does all the media. He puts in all the work too.
Don't you wish that Roman Reigns had the Miz's personality and ability to talk?
My God.
You talk about a stud if he had that, but he doesn't. He's happy to be there like the Usos. So, couple noteworthy injuries. First one being Asuka, who I believe Kurt Angle referred to as Asuka. Right? Did you hear about that?
Yes. Asuka. So broken collarbone and then Big Cass torn ACL. Unfortunate in both cases, especially Big Cass. He's out for unfortunate
9 months.
For WWE especially. He's a needle mover for them. Whether you and I think so or not, or whether the people watching this show think so or not, WWE is very high on Big Cass, and even though Enzo has a lot of heat on him, they're high on him too because he also pushes that. Alex and I talk about it every week when we talk about the YouTube numbers, which are still coming out this week, guys. Obviously, Jon Jones and his drug habit have alleged.
There you go.
Have affected some things.
Jon Jones and his crack pipe. No, that's not what you mean. It's not what you mean.
No, he does cocaine, not crack, or did cocaine, not crack. But they're needle movers, and the YouTube numbers show it, and apparently WWE notices it, and Enzo still comes out there and gets a reaction. He got a huge reaction on 205 Live last night. Also, he said that he took a poop to make the weight.
Did he?
Yeah. Yeah, we have an article up on it on Fightful.com. That's why I like having Alex. Like, because you know, if I say, hey Alex, there's this article that needs to be done about Enzo Amore dropping a deuce in order to make weight, he's like, oh yeah, sure.
Very interesting. So, okay, I asked you this over text the other night. Big Cass's YouTube videos. Is Enzo in all those videos?
Not all of them. And even if he is, he's not advertised in them. Like, you can't see him in the thumbnail. You can't see him in the title.
Like really?
Like that.
Really?
Yeah.
I find that so hard to believe. But whatever. And then my other thing was Enzo going on a 205 Live. Now, we had spoken in the past about how this was a good suggestion for him and how this is going to elevate the cruiserweight division, which it is.
Yeah.
But my question for you is, obviously, I think he was probably put on that show because with Cass injured, he needs something to do for 9 months. But do you think that this is a demotion in the eyes of Vince McMahon, putting him on that show and putting him in the cruiserweight division?
I don't, and I had a few people say that to me. No, I think it's more of them wanting to raise the profile of 205 Live.
Right.
I think that's more what it has to do with, honestly.
Okay, I mean, he will do it. He has as good a chance as anybody.
I think he does, right? Too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Rob LaPica in the chat said, is Nigel drilling for maple syrup? What is that noise?
Okay, first off, as far as I know, they use manual things for that with trees. As far as I know, I could be wrong, Nigel.
Yeah, no, they
I think it's a manual process.
There's some cool new things out there. But
oh, is there for maple syrup?
Yeah,
really?
I think so.
There you go. Maple syrup procurement. They have new things. Let's go to stupid people, Nigel.
Sure.
This is a stupid song, it just goes on and on. You might find some meaning, but you would be wrong.
Back? I don't know.
Yeah, we're back.
You're back now.
We're back.
When it comes to stupid people, just let me do the cut back or whatever you call it.
Sure. Because you're just going to talk about the people drilling below you anyway.
I might as well, because they're all stupid in some capacity. So I should. So first off, Trevor Strong, trevorstrong.org. Thanks for the usage of the stupid song. I hope the drilling's not too annoying for people, because if it is, we can stop the show early this week. Gotta let me know. So we're never gonna have anything as good as the donkey from last week. But I got some for you anyway. So it was reported on August 17th by the Associated Press that 58-year-old David Bookstaver, who was the longtime communications chief for the New York State court system, was fired after he inadvertently dialed a reporter's voicemail, and it recorded his conversation with somebody else. And in that conversation, he said, "I'm not doing anything. I barely show up to work."
Like,
Yeah.
okay, so as a reporter, because when
Uh-huh.
I'm not doing this, I occasionally do some work.
Uh-huh.
That is the dream scenario.
Is it?
That's,
So you
I
was
just
what you want?
dream of Vince McMahon dialing up my number and being like, "Well, goddamn, pal,
How
don't
would
do
you
shit around here anymore?"
How would you feel if Stephanie McMahon called you by mistake while she was telling somebody else about her night with Randy Savage? How would that make your life if you heard that one?
What's the next one you got?
So on August, this is dated August 21st. It was reported by the New Times in Danbury, Connecticut, that 23-year-old. I think you're gonna like this one. It's not as good as the donkey, but 23-year-old Marcus Colon had just completed a 9-month sentence for larceny at the Bridgeport Correctional Center. And when he was being escorted out the front door by a corrections officer, the officer said, "Don't come back," and Colon turned around and punched him in the face. He was immediately pepper sprayed, dragged back to a cell, didn't even get out of the place, and he's been charged with interfering with an officer, assault on a public safety officer, breach of peace, and disorderly conduct.
Well, first off, that's a horrible thing to do. It's a hilarious thing to do, but it's a horrible thing to do. I would never advocate something like that. What kind of time is he facing?
They didn't, as of that story, it wasn't in there. They didn't say.
Man.
Yeah, that's
I'm
pretty
trying to
awesome.
think- yeah. Oh man.
Let's go to the
you would
last
think they
one.
would put him like in the longest yard hot box or something. Like
So this last one is dated August 21st. It was reported by the Orlando Sentinel. 22-year-old Jockson Feliciano Rosado was arrested on suspicion of stealing a car after he pulled over to look at the solar eclipse. Sheriffs were following him when he pulled over. He went and bought a welder's mask, went back to the car, put the welder's mask on, looked up at the sky. And a funny little side note that the Sentinel had in the story, welders' masks are not approved eclipse viewing devices.
Yeah, and we had a lot of people out here using those.
Really?
There were a ton of people. Yeah, by the way, that was super overrated. The eclipse was trash.
Yeah, I didn't even bother.
It was garbage.
Yeah, like that, Nigel, the eclipse was trash.
It was trash.
Yeah, the eclipse was trash.
It was total trash. And we had like whatever they said, 98 or 93% totality or whatever the hell it was. Like
Yeah.
Garbage. Absolute trash of an eclipse. Kristen Stewart would be disappointed. Whoever the hell played those other guys that aren't doing shit in that movie anymore.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, you know something, man? It was 17 or 18 years ago. I worked with a young fella, that was on the radar of WWE, and he was on the radar of WCW, and he always got called to do enhancement matches, where he was the enhancement in the matches. He did a lot of WCW, whatever they call the Saturday Night, and he did Velocity, and he did Sunday Night Heat, and he was always known.
How's Crazy K doing now?
A little better. But he was always known to be, locally, he was known to be the guy that just wasn't getting a contract, the guy that had all the tools, wasn't getting the contract. 18 years later, Bobby Roode debuts on SmackDown, and I was happy for the guy. I was happy for him. He's wanted this for 20 years. And he finally debuted on SmackDown, and he looked good in the process. I guess my only question is, are they really going to push him as a babyface?
I hope so, because I thought that his style as a heel was not very appealing. And some people were saying, like, you can't do a cocky heel. Nakamura's a cocky babyface. You can do a cocky babyface.
I agree, you can. Absolutely. I mean, Ric Flair was Ric Flair. Regardless.
As Alex mentioned to me privately, to Vince McMahon, if they're singing your theme song, you're a babyface. That's true. That's pretty much how he views it. I think he would work very well as that. I would love to avoid a Bobby Roode, Randy Orton match, but that entrance, that presentation, his look, his style as a babyface in the ring, liked it. I don't know if it's going to remain that way, but
yeah, especially when you're right, especially when he says glorious before the DDT. That's kind of a babyface thing to do, and all that. He reminded me a lot of Flair when he came out. He was doing a little strut. Did you notice that? And the robe that he wore was kind of reminiscent of Ric Flair. He reminded me a little bit of Ric Flair. So, Jason Jordan, heel turn. Like, is it coming now? Looks like it might be.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's like a slow build, or either that, or he's going to show like some sort of mean streak that develops an edge that might get him over.
Right. That could be. Yeah, that could be. I question why they were doing the whole thing with just having Finn Balor beat him. I mean, you're just showing the world he's not ready, but whatever. I thought that was interesting. Now, what do you think about Lio Rush signing with WWE? Do you care at all? Does it matter to you?
He's really good. I mean, unfortunately, many people's only exposure to him was that spot.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I've had people say, well, what about context? I'm sorry, there is no context in which that fits.
Why don't you say the spot in case people don't know?
It was Joey Janela hitting a sunset flip powerbomb off a ladder through a table, and Lio Rush stood up.
Yes.
There is no context in which that works. None.
I agree.
You know, maybe if it's Braun Strowman, I'll do that. Or somebody who's built like that.
Taker, yeah.
I'm familiar enough with... I don't watch a lot of CZW. I'm familiar enough with it to know that that doesn't fit there. But I did... I kind of poked. I think it was Rip Rogers. He was like, what's the point of that? And I said, maybe he's just tougher than everybody. Like, maybe that's the situation. Maybe Lio Rush is the toughest guy in wrestling.
How do you think things would go if Brock gave him an F5 and then he did a nip-up?
He would never do that, and Brock would kill him.
Yes, he would. Yes, he would. Why don't we go to our final segment?
Awesome.
You know I'm sexy, and then you know I'm sexy boy. I'm not the boy.
Something I've always wondered about, when you worked for TNA, we would hear when TNA would land a big name that sometimes maybe Spike would chip in some money because they wanted like a Sting on their show. How often did that happen, or was that just like Sting, he's special?
You see, Sean, you bring up these great questions because this is a lot of stuff that I never talked about before. It didn't happen often, bro. It didn't happen often, but I remember, bro. I got to bring you back in time. Sean, remember I almost went back to the WWE in 2002?
Yeah.
Well, I'll never forget, as Vince and I are coming to an agreement, and I think the agreement might have been made. I remember I said to Vince, how are we going to handle the Hulk Hogan situation? Remember, bro, I had just come off Bash at the Beach with the guy. He was working there, and I had no contact with him whatsoever. Okay? And I'm like, okay, bro, I'm going to be working with the guy again. What are we going to do? This is 2002, Sean. Vince McMahon looked at me. I swear to God, his exact words were, Vince, I don't give a shit about Hulk Hogan. He hasn't drawn me a dime. Okay? This is in 2002. Fast forward to him coming to TNA. What year was that, bro?
The end of 2009. The first TNA live TNA was January 4th.
7 years later. 7 years later, bro, I remember going to Spike headquarters, Spike TV headquarters. Bro, there was a boardroom meeting, and everybody who was anybody at the network was in there. Okay, bro, Hogan was the only one not at the meeting because, bro, he was trying to paint a picture. He was too big to even go to this meeting. But of course, bro, who's in the meeting? Eric Bischoff. And, bro, Eric Bischoff is selling freaking Hulk Hogan like he's Pope John III, bro. And these guys, everybody in that office, all these Spike executives oohing and eyeing over Hulk Hogan, literally thinking, bro, he was going to bring their ratings up and we were going to compete with the WWE, the whole 9 yards, based on everything Eric was selling. And I remember sitting there and saying remembering what Vince McMahon said to me. 7 freaking years ago, Vince McMahon is telling me Hulk Hogan has not drawn a dime, but yet Spike TV, on the word of Eric Bischoff, believe that he's going to regenerate, this entire company. But that didn't happen often, bro. I know they put money in for Hulk. I know they put money in for Sting. They might have put money in for Kurt, but I'm not sure about that. But definitely Hogan and Sting.
That's interesting. I mean, it showed their commitment back then, and it's remarkable that it didn't end up working out. Now, you've shouldered some of the blame for the Spike TNA relationship going awry. Did you think it would ever end after a certain point? Because they'd been together for almost a decade.
Bro, these are again the things, Sean. Nobody listens to me. Nobody wants to listen to me. Vince Russo is a liar. Vince Russo is full of shit. Bro, you got to understand something. I was working for TNA, towards the end of, I think I left in 2012, I think. But anyway, bro, right before I left, Eric Bischoff became the executive producer of the show, Sean. Eric Bischoff was working Spike TV better than Jeff Jarrett ever worked Dixie Carter. I mean, they thought Eric knew everything about wrestling, the wrestling business, creative, the whole 9 yards. And he had a relationship with them where he basically, it was him and Spike TV. Dixie didn't even know what was going on. So he got himself so over with Spike TV and got himself in a position where they literally thought the show could not go on with Eric Bischoff because they didn't think very highly of Dixie Carter. Okay, bro? Bro, fast forward, I leave TNA. Soon thereafter, John Gaborick is hired. The first thing Gaborick does is send Eric Bischoff home. Now, I'm sitting at home and I'm watching this and I'm like, wait, hold the phone. Spike TV loves freaking Eric Bischoff. They don't think highly of Dixie Carter. All of a sudden, this guy, John Gaborick, is coming in with no credentials in that position, and he's sending Eric home. A lot of people don't know this either, Sean, but They sent Eric home, but TNA was still paying him. So do you know what TNA had him do? Because they had to feel like, well, we got to get something out of him. They had
him consult. They had him critique the shows.
And what did he do with those critiques, bro?
He shit on the show.
He sent them to Spike.
Oh.
Bro, and I know that for a fact because I was getting those critiques. And he ripped apart I'm sorry, Sean, go ahead.
Bischoff, who Spike likes, and they like his opinion as well.
Yes, and bro, he never said one positive thing about the show. Bro, even me, I'll find something positive to say about the WWE. Nothing. It was a complete freaking burial, and he would send that every week directly to Spike. And I knew right then and there, this is over, bro. They think so highly of this guy, and John Gaborg sent them home, and now he's sending these reports ripping the show. I knew right then and there, and I was only a consultant. I'm like, this ain't gonna fly, bro. And you know, from what I heard too, they weren't too crazy about Gaborg to begin with. So the fact that Eric got sent home, bro, no doubt that was the beginning of the end for that relationship.
All right.
Ye olden Vincent Russo.
You know, it's really not a surprise to me that Spike, you know, allegedly contributed to the talent costs. I mean, USA has had a lot of say over WWE too, right? So it doesn't surprise me too much. Although I was surprised that John Gabrick was given that spot at the time. Too. Because what did he have on his resume? He had Tough Enough, didn't he?
Yeah, and he had worked with WWE for quite a while ahead of that. But
doing what?
Yeah, I don't know what his exact role was. I should probably look that up.
Nothing that made him, you know, the head of talent relations.
Honestly, that was before I even got into coverage. So
yeah.
I didn't give a damn what John Gaborg was doing at that point. But there are some that really, really like him within the company. Well, I can't say that anymore. There used to be several that liked him within the company, but most of them are gone. I talked to one Global Force wrestler, and I was like, oh, how are the tapings? And they said, I don't know anybody here now.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, their roster looks real nice right now.
I think Cornette said that too. Cornette said that it looked a lot different.
Well, you know what Cornette was doing. He did the thing, well, I swear, it's almost like some stench was lifted, and all of a sudden, it's great. You know, he's talking about Russo. Come on.
Is that all it was? Just Russo?
Yes, he shoehorns in every damn interview he does.
That's good. So, Brie Bella was on a podcast called From the Top Rope last week, and she said that Daniel Bryan is using an oxygen hyperbaric chamber as experimental treatment for his brain injury. That's led to, you know, increased rumors that Daniel Bryan wants to get back in the ring. He was on Edge and Christian's podcast, and he said, I want to come back and work a much safer style. And he referenced Jerry Lawler, because Jerry Lawler, I think, is now 67, and he still wrestles occasionally. And obviously, he works a very low-impact, safe style. What do you think of all of this, man? There have been a lot of, you know, hints that, oh, maybe he'll be in Ring of Honor. Maybe he'll go to New Japan. Maybe none of that's going to happen. Like, where do you think this is headed?
I think that he absolutely will do it, and I think he's going to wrestle for Ring of Honor in New Japan.
You really think so?
And I think that's a good thing, and there aren't a lot of things that I could see as game changers, and I'm not saying this is possible. I'm not saying it's likely. They land Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, though that's a game changer. That's a big game changer. I'm not talking like WWE ousted from number one.
Yeah.
But I'm talking like a completely raised profile. Who knows if CM Punk would ever want to do it?
Yeah.
I know the Young Bucks ask him to all the time.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know if I see it.
But Daniel Bryan alone is a big shot in the arm there, especially with Ring of Honor and New Japan having that relationship. Who knows how long that will last given New Japan's foray into America. But I think he'll do it, and Brie Bella has said, don't get it twisted. I want him to if he wants to.
So long as he's cleared, So long as he's cleared.
Well, the thing is, he's been cleared for a long time. He's just not been cleared by one doctor the WWE sent him to. And when he explained that last week, I kind of felt bad for him. Where he described, like, a lesion isn't what everybody thinks it is. A lesion is a very vague term in this degree. So that's one. Oh, one you didn't touch on, Jimmy.
What's that?
Shelton Benjamin back in SmackDown.
Yes, yep. I mean, he was already signed, and then the medical, and now brought back again, kind of thing. I mean, he looked great. He looked like the old Shelton Benjamin. It looks like they're gonna go the heel route with him. It looks like he's gonna be the kind of questionable tag partner that doesn't really want to be the tag partner. So
just his ticket back in, I think.
Just his ticket back in. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. He was, even at 42, the guy's still an incredible athlete. He can still go in the ring. He looks exactly the same.
Well, it's because I remember, I think it was either I interviewed him or I spoke to Shane Helms or something, and Shane was like, it was Shane. He was like, all genetics.
Right.
Like, it's so frustrating because he could go eat like trash for 3 weeks and come back looking just like that.
Right. Yeah, it's true. One more thing on my list. Did you hear about the old Scott Steiner tweet?
I did. We did a story on it. Alex did this weekend on Fightful.com.
So Triple H was on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, did a little Summerslam spot, supposedly slammed him through a table. And so good old Scott Steiner, who wants to keep his Hall of Fame hopes alive, he went on Twitter on August 20th, and he said, candy-ass Triple H still trying to convince WWE Universe he's a tough guy, slamming Jimmy Fallon. You're not on the pay-per-view, ass clown. In a real fight, my money's on Fallon. I think Jimmy Fallon has as much of a chance to beat Triple H as Conor McGregor has a chance of knocking out Floyd Mayweather in the first round.
I'd say a little less.
Think so?
Although when I've seen Triple H hit pads, if you put him in a boxing ring, maybe those odds get a little bit closer.
Yeah, maybe you're just kick him in the balls. That works.
By the way, you guys, we do have McGregor Mayweather press conference coverage coming up right after this on Fightful.com. Somebody said, are you all going to delay the podcast for that? And I said, yeah, because I'm sure that those two guys make it on time.
Not just that, but it's all the same. What more can they say that they haven't already said?
If this is UFC format at a table with questions from the media, that's different. Conor's going to eat them alive if that's the case.
Right. But if they're just going to come out randomly and just stand there,
Yeah.
So, whatever.
So is that it?
That's all I got, man. That's it for this week. Yeah.
Man.
The drilling stopped, too. Can you believe?
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Of course.
That's it. I am sending a strongly worded letter, Sean. That's what I'm doing.
Like a letter?
Strongly worded. Strongly worded.
Who would you have delivered that letter?
Probably the lovely Ventura, because you already know.
Wonderful.
You already know she has my back, and she's the type that they're not going to shit on.
Doesn't have Greg's back though. I learned that.
Yes, you did. Well, that's because she has mine over Greg's.
That's true.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
I can verify. We really should have had Nicola on the show to make a prediction for McGregor.
Could have done that. You know what? Maybe I'll bring her on next week, depending on how it goes.
Yeah. I get the feeling she's going to charm a lot of our viewers, though.
She might. Very possible. Yeah.
Charmed you out of 1,000 big ones by eating all. What was it?
What were they? I think they were roast beef sliders.
Roast beef sandwiches. Yeah, that's what they were.
Yeah.
There was some controversy in regards
contest.
to that due to the odds you put on it.
No, there was no controversy. You asked the guy, "Hey, are you going to question the decision?" And he said no. He didn't even think about it. He said no.
Well, they all say that, and then you get that official appeal in the mail, Jimmy.
I'm still waiting.
That's how it goes. That's how it goes.
I'm waiting on it.
Well, that's all we got, guys. Tune into Fightful.com Saturday night. Myself, Carlos Toro, Showdown Joe. I believe that Carlos is planning on doing a boxing podcast as well, and, of course, that Spanish language update. But we have features all weekend long between Bellator. Bellator's actually running a show Friday. I talked to several of their guys. We have a ton of wrestling features. Of course, the articles that come out of the list and your boy. And just a good time over at Fightful.com. Go to our live discussion. Go to our forums. We're going to be doing contests all the time, Jimmy. At what point are you going to give away some of your decorations in the back?
Like what?
Like Ellsworth. I just want to see how you'd ship it, honestly.
It'd have to be a special contest.
It would be.
For me to cut ties with him. It'd have to be special.
Maybe at 50,000 Twitter followers.
That's not bad. That's not bad. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
But then somebody would go and buy us a bunch and cheat.
I do want contest ideas for the next Ric Flair, though, because I got a bunch more of these, so I would like ideas for that. So
Sure, guys. So submit your contest ideas as well over on the forums. But until next time, follow him at JimmyVan74. Follow me at Sean Ross Sapp. Follow us at Fightful Online cross-platform. Until next time, we're